Hello, everyone. Welcome to this really great video all about toxicity and specifically is my shampoo making me gain weight? So I actually read this statement on, I think a Facebook post, and it was so funny because I have shared about what happens when we are exposed to products. And it's so interesting that oftentimes we tend to be more interested in the weight loss journey. So I'm going to share and explore this with you guys because this is such an always loved topic. We are definitely going to dive deep. So first of all, my name is Natalie Pelto, and I am one of the co-founders of Blue Life RX, and I cannot wait to share some of this really insightful knowledge for you and give you guys some really powerful tools to actually be able to go around your home and really find out all of the products that might be impacting your health. So on a little bit of a personal note, toxicity has been on my radar for years. It was my second certification that I got in nutrition, and it was so powerful. It's actually what I created my first program for, which was the Conscious Detox, because of how much I saw changes in our family when we started to really just even do minute transitions to a low tox life. The first thing that I'm going to share about this is I remember that when I did this program, I thought to myself after the first module, oh my goodness, I will never go outside again. There is so much toxicity everywhere. And then I read the second module, which was all based in our in-home. And I was like, oh my goodness, I cannot wait to go back outside where there's at least nature and things that are there that help to clear our airways and support us in ways that we cannot have in the home. And this is something to think about as we go into this topic, is to not be afraid. I want to share that profoundly, is that we can't place ourselves in a bubble. And over the last 2 years, we have in many ways done this, or attempted in some ways to do this. And I understand that there were times that was important, and we all have different opinions on that. But the idea behind it is that when it comes to toxins, we have so many in our world, even just naturally occurring in the environment, such as mercuries and aluminums and things that we actually have started to converge into our mainstream products, which are extremely dangerous. But it's this thing that we cannot avoid. But what we can do is we can limit the exposures that we control, that we have control over, and we can make sure that our own toxicity or toxic organs can actually really be supported in being very efficient. So when I read that tagline of "Is your shampoo making you fat?" I just giggled because I remember doing a presentation and actually stating this exact thing. And it actually brought me back to that moment where I was like, people really just don't realize that the products that they put on themselves every single day are not just the reason for their weight gain, but also the reason for a lot of other unexplained symptoms, or symptoms to this day that we've seen progress so much they've actually almost become normal, such as women having terrible cramps and very irregular periods. So a lot of these things really stem from toxicity. And so, is your shampoo making you fat? Well, I'm going to say that one use of a certain shampoo probably isn't, or a very toxic shampoo probably isn't. And we're going to dive a little bit deeper into what and breaking down what this looks like so that you don't think I'm crazy. So shampoo actually has, oftentimes, I'll say almost every single one of them has fragrance in it. Fragrance and parabens and wax and aluminums that they use for preservatives. These things are all being absorbed through our skin. Now, there are 3 ways for us to get toxins into our bodies, and that is through our mouth, through our airway, and through our skin. And so all of the products, not just shampoo, that we place on our skin in the day-to-day is having a minute toxic impact. That if it was just 1 or 2, like it was in our older days, I hate to go there and say it that way, but we would actually be able to overcome this. But the truth of the matter is that over the last 80 years, we have actually created, well, at this point, over 80,000 chemicals to create, ease in our day to day. Some of these are used on our hair as hairspray. Some of them are used under our arms as underarm deodorant, and some of them are used to wash our hair, such as shampoo. The idea, though, is that the average woman from the start, and this is the average, I know we're all a bit different, but the average woman, by the time she had walked outside, at one point, the EWG, which is a great resource number one, EWG, is kind of like the world, it's like a hub where you can, it's a database where you can look at products, type in the product, and it will give you a rating on your product, whether it's extremely toxic, whether it has fragrances in it that are extremely toxic. And anything between 1 to 3 is generally a good rating. And anything up to 10 is absolutely horrible. The thing is, though, is that when we started with things like makeup, they would make them with minerals or mineral powders, and they would be very low tox. But they started mass producing these things that we put on our skin. And with that, there came many products to lower cost, to make things last longer on a shelf. For whatever reason, it was for our convenience. And what ended up happening, though, is that many of these products, these preservatives, these things that are sometimes even naturally found in nature, they didn't realize just how toxic they really were to our system. And really, out of those 80,000, like 5 years ago, when I used to talk about this consistently, they were really only at, testing about 5,000 of them for human safety. It's why PBAs are off the shelves, and why PVCs, herbicides, pesticides are all being evaluated because of their high levels of toxicity. And you're seeing things be removed from shelves. You're seeing those tags on certain products claiming PPA free now. And so we've realized that some of these were actually so toxic that they were causing massive amounts of issues in the body. One of the issues that happens when we are exposed to toxins is that sometimes certain toxic materials can be so multi-toxic that they would overburden our liver and our detoxification organs. We also, and the body is very smart. It's like this very well-oiled machine, guys. We do not give it enough credit. But what it will do is to protect our bloodstream, to make sure that that isn't just running rampant, is that it actually allows for our fat cells to expand and to wrap itself around the toxin for safekeeping. Because the problem is that if it was running rampant, we would be extremely, extremely ill. And if some of our detox organs are unable to process it because they're just so overburdened by multiple exposures every day, all day, then they need to be stored for safekeeping until either one of two things are going to happen. You remove the toxic materials that are constantly being exposed to the body, which is really difficult in our day-to-day, or you start to really use practices such as detox practices to help the body become really, really efficient at assimilating toxicity, converting really toxic chemicals by the liver into something less toxic so that it can be excreted. So is your shampoo making you fat is like kind of like this really pow in your face chat I've been having for 5 years and just read it on Facebook. And the idea is that, yes, when you have these micro exposures all throughout the day and your body cannot really work at getting rid of them, your fat cells will expand. And so what happens when we have consistent fat cells expanding? Well, we have a fat person. And I don't like to use that term, but we have an overweight person. Now, I like to talk about weight as a secondary measurement. Does it mean that we want to focus on obsessing over detoxing to lose weight? No, we want to support the body to detox for health. And losing weight is like a secondary bonus that will generally happen when people start to release this toxicity safely. There are very specific ways to do this. Please don't go jump on a juice cleanse if you've never done anything like that before. When I educate about detoxes, which you're going to see an amazing resource below, guys. This is a complete free detox capacity assessment. I used to call it the toxic bucket quiz, or am I a toxic bucket quiz below. I think that it's a really powerful tool to start using to see where you're at. It will also give you a wonderful, just short 5-series videos on where toxins can be found in our environment and how to support our bodies to get rid of them. So if you're interested in that, that link will be below. including, again, always the supports of things that will go with that. So there is a conscious detox. The reason that I talk about these things is really to make sure that people don't jump on unsafe juice cleanses, start to get rid of all this stuff, and then their pathways aren't open. And so they just end up feeling very ill and then headachy. And then all that ends up happening is that they reabsorb their toxicity because their pathways aren't open. Their bowel patterns are not moving well. Their kidneys are not flushing properly. There is a system to detoxing efficiently and properly and safely. And it takes 4 weeks for people to actually go through the process with me, which amazingly enough, I do have a course for. So if you are interested in learning more about that, just make sure to grab that link below and you can dive deep into really seeing is if your shampoo is making you fat. Now, resource number 2 that I wanted to give you that was a totally free resource, both of the resources that I'm going to offer you will be linked below, such as the EWG website, so that you can start taking your products and looking them over and putting them in there and seeing if your shampoo is rating a 10, which you will be surprised at how many do. Now, the second resource that I want to give you guys that's free down below is actually called the Think Dirty app. Most people prefer this because obviously we are a phone community or a cell phone loving world. And it is an app where you can actually just go around your house and just scan barcodes, and it will be able to tell you, for the most part, there's so many, like they've had so many people and of course with people like myself promoting it, they've had so many people add so many of their ingredients in. So you will know by scanning your product and your barcode if that product is a 1, which is the low toxicity is pretty good, and then all the way up to a 10. Highly recommend definitely looking at your sunscreens, definitely looking at your shampoos, looking at your mascaras, looking at your makeup, all these things that are really, really having an impact on the reason. And actually the reason I'm going to say that as I interrupt myself to grab this thought is the reason that women are actually walking out of the house with a minimum generally of 500 chemicals on their bodies. That's what that is what the average is today. I think I forgot to say that. The average is about 500 chemicals before they leave the house. It's because our products have become not just 2 to 3 ingredients per product. We're looking at mascara that has like 10 ingredients. We're looking at face powder or concealer that has like 20, 30 ingredients. These are just different products than what we grew up with when we were younger. And so it's really great to bring awareness to what is happening in our world and to ask for companies to do better, right? Maybe we charge a little bit more for products and just make sure that they're not as toxic. I think that that's extremely important. And of course, we do speak with our dollars. So make sure that you do always read your labels. I cannot tell you how important that is. Use the Think Dirty app, be weird, be the weirdo. I like to tell people that be the weirdo in the store that's like using your Think Dirty app to scan your products. It's okay. You may just find your people doing in the aisles doing the same thing and making friends. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you love the resources. Make sure to grab them below. And I hope that you like this little take on, is your shampoo making you fat? I think it's a really great way of looking at toxicity in a way that we just really often don't. Talk to you guys later. See you next Friday.